The clock in the sky, it began on a cold, clear morning. People in every country looked up and saw something they could not explain. A huge silver object hanging in the sky, just above the clouds. It didn't move. It didn't make a sound. It simply floated there, glinting in the sunlight. At first, most thought it was a satellite. Others thought it was a trick of the light. But as the hours passed, scientists confirmed it was real, massive, and alien. Then the numbers appeared. Glowing across its surface were symbols no human had ever seen, shifting and morphing until they turned into something everyone could read. 365 A countdown. The news spread like wildfire. Television stations, social media, street conversations, everywhere people whispered the same question. What happens when it reaches zero? Panic hit quickly. Stock markets crashed. People emptied grocery stores. Governments went into emergency meetings. World leaders tried to calm the public, but the fear was too strong. 2 days later, the first transmission came. The voice was cold, metallic, and unlike anything human ears had heard. It spoke in every language at once. When the clock reaches zero, humanity ends. People screamed in their homes. Others fell to their knees in prayer. The world seemed to stop breathing, but one man didn't freeze. Captain Elias Kane stood in the operations room of the Global Defense Council's headquarters, watching the broadcast with narrowed eyes. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with the quiet calm of a man who had seen too many battles. His career had been spent in impossible missions, the kind everyone else called suicide. When the alien voice finished, his lips curled into something between a smile and a snarl. "Then we train," he said. The people in the room stared at him as if he'd gone mad. He explained. The countdown was not an immediate attack. It was a warning, a gift of time. And if they used every second of it, they could turn fear into strength. Within hours, Elias proposed Project Forge. It would unite soldiers, scientists, engineers, and civilians into one force. Training would be constant. Preparation would be relentless. Every country would share technology, resources, and information. At first, leaders resisted. Nations had spent decades mistrusting each other. But when alien probes began appearing over major cities, scanning the streets with beams of blue light, the hesitation vanished. Elias stood before a live camera and spoke directly to the world. We have 365 days, not to hide, not to cry, but to sharpen ourselves into something these aliens will regret finding. His voice carried across TV screens, radios, and phones in every home, and it began. Stadiums became training grounds. Schools taught survival tactics alongside math and history. Factories shifted to building weapons and armored vehicles. Farmers learned to shoot alongside harvesting their crops. In every city, people ran drills, evacuation, defense, medical aid. In every village, old mechanics turned farm equipment into armored trucks. At night, Elias walked the camps, speaking to soldiers and civilians alike. He told them stories of battles won against impossible odds. He told them the truth. They might die. But if they stood together, they could make the enemy bleed first. Then, on the 12th day, something happened that made the entire world hold its breath. A massive alien probe descended over the Pacific Ocean. It hovered above a naval base, scanning it for several minutes. Without warning, it released a swarm of black drones the size of cars, each armed with strange, glowing weapons. The base's defenses opened fire. Missiles, cannons, and machine guns tore through the air. The alien drones returned fire, blasting holes in ships and buildings. From the control room, Elias watched the feed. "This is it," he said, turning to his team. "Our first test." But something unexpected happened. The soldiers at the base weren't alone. Local fishermen had seen the attack and joined in, using harpoon guns, explosives from their boats, and even ramming drones with their vessels. The fight lasted less than 15 minutes. When the smoke cleared, the ocean was littered with wreckage, and human forces stood victorious. Cheers erupted in the control room. Elias didn't smile. Instead, he studied one of the drones that had been recovered intact. Its outer shell was riddled with holes, but its central core still pulsed with alien light. His lead technician, a young woman named Rhea, examined it closely. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her voice trembling. Inside the drone's memory core was a transmission locked in alien code. They decrypted it within hours. The message was short, but it made the room go silent. Stage 1 complete. Stage 2 begins. Elias leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "They're not just counting down to attack," he muttered. "They're training us, pushing us." No one knew what Stage 2 meant, but every instinct told him it would be worse. Outside in the dark sky, the alien clock kept ticking. 64, 07, 12, 51. The world did not sleep that night. The image of the alien message, Stage 2 begins, haunted every screen, every conversation. People who had barely begun to adapt to the countdown now faced the chilling thought. This was only the beginning. In the command center, Captain Elias Kane stared at the drone core on the table. The blue glow inside it pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and mocking. Rhea, his lead technician, worked on decoding more data, her fingers moving quickly over the console. Outside, the base buzzed with restless energy. Soldiers trained harder. Civilians practiced evacuation drills again and again. There was no laughter now, no false comfort. The victory over the doctor. Ones had lit a fire, not of celebration, but of defiance. 3 days later, strange lights appeared in the sky. They were not ships, not probes, but something else. Streaks of silver that descended into the oceans. Satellite feeds caught them vanishing beneath the waves. Within hours, reports flooded in. Dead fish washed up on shores. Strange eel-like creatures attacked fishing boats. Divers vanished without a trace. Something was happening under the water. Elias gathered his team. "They're changing the environment," he said. "Killing food sources, testing if we can fight in places we're weakest." And so Project Forge shifted again. Training camps built makeshift water arenas, large pools, rivers, even flooded stadiums, where soldiers learned to fight in submerged conditions. Navy divers trained civilians to breathe with simple rebreathers, to move without making ripples. For some, it was terrifying, but for others, it became a strange kind of thrill. Ordinary people learning skills once reserved for elite forces. Then came the first underwater battle. A small coastal town in northern Canada reported glowing shapes moving in the harbor at night. The local defense unit, a mix of Navy, fishermen, and volunteer teens, prepared a trap. They placed old cargo containers as barriers, creating a funnel into the harbor's center. When the alien creatures swam in, drawn by signals from hacked drone parts, the humans closed the trap and opened fire with harpoons, shotguns, and modified pulse cannons. The water lit up with flashes of blue and red. By dawn, the harbor was silent. Not a single alien survived. The victory spread quickly through the global network, and with each victory, humanity's confidence grew. But Elias saw something no one else did. Late one night, Rhea called him to the lab. She had cracked another part of the drone's memory core. What she found made the blood drain from his face. On the screen, alien text scrolled endlessly, detailed logs of every human battle so far, including weaknesses, mistakes, and response times. "They're studying us," Rhea said quietly. "They're adapting to our tactics, just like we're adapting to theirs." A chill ran through Elias. This wasn't a war in the normal sense. It was a race to learn faster, to adapt quicker. And the aliens had been doing this for far longer than humans could imagine. Before he could respond, alarms blared across the base. Satellites had detected multiple alien ships in low orbit. They were bigger than the probes, sleek and black, with wings that unfolded like blades. Stage 2 was here. The largest of the ships broadcast a signal, not in words but in images. The images showed maps of the world, with certain areas marked in red. Each red zone was a target. One of them was the very base Elias stood in. He turned to his team, his voice calm but iron hard. "They want us scared. Fine. We'll give them something else instead." As the alien ships descended, the base's sirens screamed into the night. Men and women ran to positions, loading weapons, checking armor. In the control room, Elias watched the timer in the sky, 6:04:58:19. He clenched his fists. Let's see how they like Stage 2. The first strike of Stage 2 did not come from the sky. It came from beneath the earth. Just before dawn, in a mining town in South America, the ground split open. Molten rock and black smoke erupted as something metallic forced its way out. Tall, spider-like machines with glowing red eyes. They moved fast, their legs stabbing into the ground, tearing through buildings as if they were paper. Within minutes, 3 towns were gone. Captain Elias Kane studied the satellite feeds in silence. The aliens weren't just attacking from above or from the oceans now. They were coming from every direction: air, water, and now underground. But there was something stranger. These new machines weren't killing everyone they found. They were capturing people alive, wrapping them in a glowing web-like material and pulling them underground. Rhea zoomed in on one of the feeds. "Those aren't machines," she whispered, baying. "Look, they're alive." And they were. Under the metal plating, glimpses of pale, pulsating flesh moved like breathing lungs. The aliens had built armor around living creatures. The message was clear. They were done testing human defenses. Now they were hunting people. Project Forge responded in hours. Underground resistance units were formed, trained to fight in caves and tunnels. Old subway maps were dug up and abandoned train stations became command posts. For Elias, it was personal now. One of the captured towns was where his younger sister had lived. No one had heard from her since the attack. He didn't say it out loud, but everyone on his team knew. He was going to get her back. 2 days later, the chance came. Intel showed one of the underground alien machines moving slowly toward a mountainside. Using thermal scans, they found a network of tunnels beneath it, the perfect place for an ambush. The mission was simple: disable the creature, rescue any captives, and get out before more arrived. But when Elias and his team descended into the tunnels, they found something unexpected. Huge underground chambers filled with strange alien plants that glowed faintly blue. The air was warm, heavy, almost alive. In the center of the largest chamber was a tall black spire covered in alien symbols. Around it, hundreds of humans were trapped inside translucent pods, suspended like insects in amber. One of the soldiers touched a pod. It was warm, and inside the person's eyes moved as if dreaming. "They're alive," Rhea said, scanning it. "But their brain activity is different, like they're being fed images." Before they could do more, a deep rumble shook the chamber. The ground split open again, and something enormous began to rise. It was a creature unlike anything they had faced, twice the height of a tank, with a head shaped like a hammer and claws that could crush steel. The armor on its back was lined with what looked like missile pods, but instead of rockets, glowing seeds pulsed inside. The creature roared, and from its back, the seeds shot into the walls, instantly growing into thick vines that trapped the soldiers in place. It wasn't just a hunter. It was terraforming the tunnels as it fought. Elias made a split-second decision. Forget the samples. Free the captives, now. The team switched to pulse weapons, blasting at the pods until they shattered. Dazed civilians stumbled out, gasping for air. Among them was a teenage girl with dark hair and fierce eyes, Elias's sister. "You came," she whispered. "Always," he said, pulling her close before shoving her toward the evac team. They barely made it out. As they climbed back to the surface, the ground behind them collapsed entirely, sealing the alien chamber deep below. Later, in the safety of the base, Rhea approached Elias. "You need to see this," she said. She held up a small data core, one she had ripped from the black spire before escaping. The core flickered to life, projecting alien symbols and a single line of translated text, halfway to 0. "Prepare for culling." Outside, the countdown in the sky kept ticking. 2:15:04. The day the culling began, the world was quiet. Too quiet. The alien clock in the sky had just ticked past 300 days remaining when it happened. Across every continent, the weather shifted at the same time. Clouds rolled in, winds stopped, and an unnatural stillness covered cities, towns, and villages. People stepped outside, confused. They looked up, and then the sky split open. Rivers of light poured down from enormous black ships that had appeared without warning. The beams didn't burn, didn't explode. They took. Anyone caught in the light vanished instantly, their beast humps, ODs dissolving into particles that floated upward like glowing dust. Whole streets were emptied in seconds. It wasn't random. The beams moved methodically, sweeping through neighborhoods, leaving buildings intact, but stealing the people inside. Captain Elias Kane watched from the command center as live feeds showed entire cities disappearing in minutes. Paris, Cairo, Sydney. Gone. In one clip, a little boy clutched his mother's hand as the light touched them both, and they vanished together, mid-scream. "They're not killing them," Rhea said, voice trembling. "They're collecting." Elias slammed his fist onto the table. "We stopped them, now." But stopping them was nearly impossible. The beams moved faster than ground forces could keep up with. Aircraft that tried to intercept the ships were destroyed before they got close. Then came the breaking point. A live feed from a defense drone in North America showed what happened to the people taken by the beams. They weren't taken to prison cells or work camps. They were dropped into massive alien arenas, colossal pits surrounded by high walls of metal and glass. Inside the pits, monstrous creatures prowled, and the humans were thrown weapons. "It's a test," Rhea whispered. "They're making us fight for survival, for their entertainment." For Elias, the decision was instant. He ordered a strike team to infiltrate one of the arena ships and get the captives out. It was the most dangerous mission yet. The enemy knew humans would try this. That night, under the cover of an electromagnetic storm that temporarily scrambled alien sensors, Elias's team launched from a hidden airbase. Stealth shuttles cut through the clouds, heading straight for the nearest arena ship hovering over the Atlantic. The plan was simple. Cut through the hull, disable the containment fields, and evacuate as many as possible before the ship jumped into orbit. But the moment they breached the ship, they realized it wasn't just one arena. It was hundreds, stacked vertically inside the massive vessel like honeycombs. In each one, humans were locked in brutal battles against alien beasts, mechanical predators, and even twisted versions of Earth's own animals, genetically altered for slaughter. In one arena, a young woman wielded a broken spear, facing down a creature with 6 jaws and armored skin. In another, a group of men fought side by side with nothing but sharpened metal poles against a charging alien warbeast. The noise was deafening. Screams, roars, metal grinding. Elias's team split up, planting charges on the containment generators. Explosions rippled through the ship as the energy fields dropped. The captives began to run, swarming toward the evacuation shuttles. But the aliens responded fast. Sirens blared. Armored soldiers poured into the corridors, their weapons firing beams that sliced through steel. In the chaos, Elias fought his way to the central control chamber. On the main console, a holographic map of the planet showed red zones spreading across it. The culling was only 20% complete. And then he saw something worse. A timer below the map, separate from the main countdown in the sky, read 0502. 5 hours until the ship jumped out of orbit, with anyone still inside. "Rhea," he said into his comm, "we're out of time. Blow the generators, all of them." The ship shook violently as multiple explosions tore through its structure. Containment fields collapsed across the arenas and chaos erupted inside as freed humans swarmed the alien guards. As the evacuation shuttles fled the ship, Elias looked back through the viewport. The massive vessel was tilting, smoke pouring from its sides. Then, in a flash of blue light, it vanished, jumping into deep space with thousands still trapped inside. Back on the ground, Elias stood in the rain, fists clenched. They had saved many, but not enough. Above him, the alien clock ticked on. Chapter 506-1744, the opportunity came when no one expected it. A week after the culling began, a damaged alien vessel crashed into the Arctic ice. Satellite images showed it was small compared to the warships, but its shape and design matched one thing only: a carrier shuttle from the alien mothership. Captain Elias Kane knew this was their chance. If they could track its point of origin, They could follow the path back to where the real power sat, the heart of the invasion. The shuttle team was small, only 8 soldiers, including Raya. Each wore a hybrid suit, part human engineering, part alien tech salvaged from earlier battles. Their weapons were light but deadly, designed to pierce alien armor. When the shuttle lifted off from the ice, the world seemed to fade away. The alien craft's navigation system pulled them upward into the black of space. No one spoke as the stars grew brighter. Then they saw it. The mothership. It was unlike anything human imagination had dared to picture. A city the size of a continent, floating in the void. Its surface pulsed with lights, each one a docking bay, a weapon system, or something far stranger. The ship's hull curved like the shell of some ancient creature, giving it a terrifying, organic look. The shuttle drifted toward one of the docking bays, undetected. When they stepped out, they found themselves in a vast hangar, its ceiling disappearing into shadow. Alien workers moved in silence, their limbs long and jointed, their faces hidden behind dark masks. The air was thick and warm, carrying a faint scent like burning metal. They moved quickly, staying in the shadows. Elias's visor displayed a simple objective: find the command core, steal what they could, get out alive. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. The corridors weren't made of metal like human ships. They were grown. The walls were alive, pulsing faintly as if breathing. In one chamber, they found giant glass tubes filled with liquid. Inside floated creatures from a dozen different worlds, frozen in some kind of sleep. Some looked like predators, others like peaceful beings. Every single one wore a metal collar around its neck. "They're not just invaders," Raya whispered. "They're collectors." Further in, they reached a massive hall lined with towering pillars. Etched into each pillar were glowing symbols, and above them holographic projections flickered, showing battle footage from hundreds of worlds. Some of the planets were nothing but burning rubble. Others had been stripped bare. And then they saw something that made their blood run cold. A projection of Earth. But it wasn't Earth now. It was Earth after. Oceans were gone. Cities were gone. The continents were cracked, glowing with molten rivers. In the corner of the projection, alien text flashed. Status: pending assimilation. 290 days remaining. Before they could take more, alarms erupted. The floor vibrated as heavy footsteps approached. From the far end of the hall, a squad of alien guards appeared, massive armored beings carrying weapons that hummed with power. "Raya, download what you can," Elias barked. She slammed a device onto one of the pillars, the data pouring into it in streams of blue light. The aliens charged. The fight was fast and brutal. Human weapons tore through alien armor, but the guards were faster than anything they had fought before. 2 soldiers went down before the rest made it to an exit tunnel. As they fled, the walls themselves began to shift, closing behind them like a living maze. They barely made it back to the shuttle. Engines roared to life, and the small craft shot away from the mothership just as alien ships scrambled in pursuit. Once they were safely in orbit around Earth, Raya showed Elias what she had stolen: detailed schematics of the mothership's internal systems, and a file marked in alien script. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. Final trial scheduled, all surviving species to be tested. Elias stared at the words, his jaw tight. "We're not the first," he said, "but we'll be the last." Above them, the alien clock kept ticking. 11:49:02, day 360. The alien clock in the sky glowed blood red. Clouds gathered around it, lit from below by lightning that didn't belong to Earth. In every city, sirens wailed. People stopped what they were doing and looked up, knowing the time had come. In the command center, Captain Elias Kane stood at the main window, watching as the first alien warships entered the atmosphere. They came in waves, each one larger than the last, their black hulls cutting through the clouds like blades. But these weren't the same ships humanity had faced before. These were designed for the trial. The mothership's broadcast played across every device, every screen, every radio. Final phase initiated: survive or be erased. The attack began instantly, not on one front, but on three. Front one, the skies. Dozens of alien airships unleashed swarms of fighters that moved like a single mind, weaving through the clouds and striking at Earth's defense fleets. Human jets and drones met them head-on, but the air was filled with streaks of fire and falling wreckage. Front 2, the seas. Massive alien leviathans rose from the oceans, their armored hides bristling with weapons. They slammed into coastal cities, flooding streets and smashing buildings. Naval ships engaged, their cannons roaring, while underwater teams planted mines to slow the monsters' advance. Front 3, the ground. Columns of alien walkers, taller than skyscrapers, marched into urban centers. Each step sent shockwaves through the streets, crushing vehicles and toppling walls. Smaller alien infantry swarmed ahead of them, armed with weapons that could melt steel. Elias's voice carried through the global defense network. Hold your ground on all fronts. We've trained for this. Make them pay for every inch. The battles raged for hours. In New York, soldiers fought from rooftop to rooftop, turning the city into a maze of ambushes. In the Pacific, submarines used stealth to strike alien war beasts from below. In the Sahara, mobile artillery units unleashed walls of fire against alien walkers. But even with their training, humanity was being pushed back. In the middle of the chaos, Raya's voice cut through on the comms. Captain, we found it, the Doom engine. It's inside the mothership. That's what the countdown is for. When it reaches 0, it will fire. The Doom engine was worse than they had imagined. It wasn't a bomb. It was a planetary weapon that would tear the very crust of Earth apart. Elias made the call no one wanted to hear. All elite units prepare for final boarding run. We end this at the source. Using stolen schematics from their earlier infiltration, they launched a coordinated assault toward the mothership. The skies above Earth turned into a hurricane of fire as human ships pushed through alien defenses, losing dozens in the attempt. When Elias's shuttle finally broke through, the mothership's interior loomed before them again. But now it was lit entirely in red, the walls pulsing like a living heart under strain. Rhea checked the timer on her wrist, 5 hours to 0. Captain, she said, once we're inside, there's no going back. Good, Elias replied. I'm tired of running. They entered the mothership's core corridors, cutting through alien patrols with precision. Every corner revealed new horrors, entire rooms filled with the remains of other species who had failed the trial. Some still wore armor. Others had their weapons laid beside them, untouched for centuries. As they drew closer to the Doom engine, the air grew heavier, hotter. The sound of the clock's final ticks seemed to echo in their skulls. At the center of the enginery, stood the alien High Commander, its towering frame armored in black and gold, its eyes burning like twin suns. You have trained well, it said in perfect English, and few have reached this point. Now prove you deserve to live. And with that, the doors sealed shut. Elias tightened his grip on his weapon. We don't need to prove anything. We're here to end you. The battle for Earth's survival began, inside the heart of the enemy. The timer in the sky read, OG 045958. The engine room trembled as the alien High Commander moved forward, its shadow stretching across the metal floor. The walls pulsed in time with the giant clock in the sky, each beat a reminder that humanity had minutes left. Elias Kane didn't waste time. He charged first. The commander moved with inhuman speed, blocking his strike with a shield of black energy. The impact threw sparks into the air. Raya and the others flanked, their pulse rifles lighting the chamber with rapid bursts. But the commander's armor absorbed most of the hits, sending a hum through the room like a predator's growl. The clock ticked down, 0004-1207. Then Elias noticed something. The commander was always positioning itself between them and the central control column of the Doom engine. It's guarding the core, he shouted. Hit it from both sides. The team split, forcing the alien to turn and defend against two angles. In that moment, Rhea sprinted past it and reached the control panel. Alien symbols danced across the screen, shifting too fast to read. I can't shut it down, she yelled. But I can change the target. Elias locked eyes with her. Do it. The commander roared and lunged at her, but Elias tackled it mid-charge. The two crashed to the floor, fists, claws, and blades clashing. Armor cracked, blood hit the deck, human and alien. 2:37:55. Raya's hands moved faster. Almost there, the calm Amdo. Ander threw Elias across the room, slamming him into the wall. Pain shot through his chest, but he pushed himself up. Raya, Challenger 1, 1940. The alien finally realized what she was doing. It turned too late. She hit the final sequence. Done. The commander froze. The lights in the engine shifted from red to a cold, pale blue. Elias coughed, pushing to his feet. Where's it going? Raya's voice was steady. Back to them. I told it the target was the mothership. 15:09. The commander let out a sound halfway between a scream and a roar. It lunged, but Elias met it head-on, driving his blade into the alien's chest. The creature staggered, its armor cracking apart like shattered glass. From the viewport above, they saw it. The Doom engine's massive energy surge reversing, blasting outward into the mothership's own structure. A blinding white light swallowed everything. When Elias woke, he was lying on a field hospital cot under the open sky. The alien clock was gone. The mothership was nowhere to be seen. All that remained was a scattering of black debris burning up in the upper atmosphere. Reyes sat beside him, bruised but alive. We did it. The blast took them out. The others are retreating. He sat up slowly, scanning the horizon. Everywhere he looked, people were standing in the streets, staring at the empty sky. News broadcasts confirmed it. The invasion was over. But one message remained, burned into the world's communication network in alien script. It took hours to translate. Humanity passes. Welcome to the war beyond. Elias read it once, then twice. His voice was quiet but certain. They weren't trying to destroy us. They were recruiting us. Raya's eyes narrowed. And we just proved we're ready. Above them, the sky was clear for the first time in months, but somewhere out there in the dark between stars, the next war was waiting. Earth had survived the countdown, and now, it was time to choose whether to fight for itself or for the galaxy.